What's going on, Summoners? My name is Nathan Ng and I'll be your host for this video. In it, we're going to be covering the latest Korean builds for patch 12.4. Whether they're meta-breaking, niche, or the newest optimal builds, I'll make sure to cover all 5 roles. Hit that sub button and let's jump right into the video. As always, we'll begin with the top lane. Shen is known as a top laner that doesn't need to run teleport. His ultimate is basically the summoner spell, but better. Thus, we often see some very aggressive builds surface in solo queue where finding early kills can really decide the course of games. With this build, you'll be playing more aggressively than normal, opting to build some damage while sacrificing very little durability. For his runes, you'll run the typical setup as it's the most optimal. Grasp of the Undying, Shield Bash, Bone Plating, Revitalize, Cheap Shot, Ultimate Hunter, Double Adaptive Force, and a situational defensive rune. Ultimate Hunter provides a ton of extra power as you'll be able to cast Shen's iconic ultimate much more often. Overall, this is a lane dominant setup that should lead to CS leads or solo kills in the early game, especially when paired with Summoner Ignite. For his items, build Sunfire Aegis, Ionian Boost Lucidity, Demonic Embrace, Zanya's Hourglass, Maw of Malmortius, and Lichbane. Like I mentioned earlier, these items provide a significant boost to Shen's damage, but still leave him tanky enough to frontline for his team. Our next build is for Singed. Again, this is a more aggressive build, so you can use it to maximize his carry potential with tankiness and high damage. For his runes, run Aftershock, Demolish, Conditioning, Overgrowth, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Double Adaptive Force, and a defensive rune. For the items, build Rylai's Crystal Scepter, Defensive Boots, Rift Maker, Winter's Approach, Demonic Embrace, and Force of Nature. Winter's Approach is an effective purchase on him. With some extra mana, you don't have to really worry about nearly as much about managing it, and also provides you with a great amount of extra durability. Also, if you're looking for optimal or new builds for any champion, I suggest checking out our website ProGuides.com. Our coaching staff can help you improve on and optimize any champion that you're trying to play, so make sure you contact them. That's it for the top lane. We'll put the builds up one more time for the screen for you guys to check out. Moving forward, we have the jungle. In the jungle, we'll start with the build for Sejuani. What if we took one of League's most CC heavy champions and added more? This build uses Glacial Augment to not only add more crowd control to her kit, but also makes her a way more impactful team fighter with the damage reduction it provides to her teammates. The fact that you're able to opt into the inspiration tree is another big win, as there are several excellent runes to take from there as a jungler. Speaking of which, let me run you guys through the runes. Run Glacial Augment, Magical Footwear, Futures Market, Cosmic Insight, Triumph, Legend Alacrity, Attack Speed, and Double Armor. Futures Market is a great rune on nearly every single jungler as you're able to get stronger with every recall. Hitting those item power spikes is essential, especially when you're constantly roaming and looking for ganks or skirmishes. For her items, build Everfrost, Defensive Boots, Winter's Approach, Thornmail, Zanya's Hourglass, and Gargoyle's Stoneplate. Throwing in Everfrost adds even more lockdown, meaning that when Sejuani manages to single out a priority target, they're undoubtedly going to end up CC locked to death. Our next build is for Nocturne. This build focuses on providing some extra durability without sacrificing damage. As always, he'll jump in and one-shot his targets with no issues, but in many cases end up surviving afterwards to continue contributing to the fight. For runes, run Lethal Tempo, Triumph, Legend Alacrity, Last Stand, Sudden Impact, Ultimate Hunter, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and Armor. For the items, build Divine Sunder, Defensive Boots, Death's Dance, Black Cleaver, Maw of Malmortius, and Guardian Angel. With each purchase, you not only get stronger, but also tankier. Divine Sunderer starts to set the pace for this build, and the next 2 purchases continue to build up Nocturne into a tankier pseudo-assassin. That's it for the jungle, so we'll put up the builds up one more time for you guys. Next, let's run through the mid lane. So it's no surprise that Lux has gained a ton of popularity over the course of the season. However, players have found a new build that pushes her potential as a mid lane carry even further. The biggest change that players have made to Lux's build is throwing in First Strike. As a powerful poke-based mid laner, Lux is able to farm up an incredible amount of bonus gold with a new keystone. She's able to hit her item power spikes even faster than before, and considering that she's able to one-shot any enemy that she manages to pick off when ahead, it's no surprise that this build is gaining traction. After pulling ahead, Lux and her teammates are able to push for objectives after any pick that she makes. For her runes, run First Strike, Magical Footwear, Biscuit Delivery, Cosmic Insight, Manaflow Band, Transcendence, Double Adaptive Force, and a defensive rune. For her items, build Crown of the Shattered Queen, Sorcerer's Shoes, Horizon Focus, Shadow Flame, Zanya's Hourglass, and Rabadon's Death Cap. Incredibly powerful at mid lane with a specific build since he's able to one-shot any squishy, but also he's pretty tanky with these specific items. There's no shortage of damage in the mid lane as moving forward, we have a Renekton build that allows him to one-shot any squishy. This is especially powerful in the mid lane as most of his opponents don't really have the damage to kill him in spite of the insane kill pressure that he exerts. For his runes, run Press the Attack, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Coup de Grace, Cheap Shot, Ravenous Hunter, Double Adaptive Force, and a defensive rune. Running Press the Attack increases Renekton's burst damage, and given the shorter length of the mid lane, it's usually can provide a bigger boost in damage than Conqueror. For the items, build Prowler's Claw, Defensive Boots, Death's Dance, Edge of Night, Maw of Malmortius, and Guardian Angel. Prowler's Claw provides bonus damage on its active effect, amplifies Renekton's damage on top of the Press the Attack bonus damage, and also grants some extra lethality on subsequent legendary items. As a result, he's able to easily delete any enemy carry. That concludes the mid lane build, so we'll put it up on the screen one more time for you guys to review. Take a look and let's conclude with the bottom lane. We'll begin this section with the build for Zary. Although most players are already familiar with her recent builds, we'll talk about the second one that's a little bit less popular. This build is used more in Korea than any other regions, but there's a good chance that you haven't actually seen it used yet. The biggest difference is trading out Trinity Force for Immortal Shield Bow, meaning this build relies more on crit and provides more survivability. For runes, run Lethal Tempo, Overheal, Legend Alacrity, Cut Down, Bone Plating or Second Wind, Revitalize, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and a Defensive Rune. For her items, build Essence Reaver, Ionian Boost of Lucidity, Immortal Shield Bow, Rune's Hurricane, Black Cleaver, and Infinity Edge. You'll rush Essence Reaver as your first item instead. Like with Trinity Force, you're going to gain access to the Spellblade passive. Thus, you're still hitting a solid power spike, but you end up hitting an even bigger one after completing Immortal Shield Bow and having access to a solid amount of crit chance. By the end of this item path, you have 80% crit chance, and as a result, are well past the threshold for that bonus critical strike damage from Infinity Edge. With all this talk about items, let me ask you our question of the day. Do you think there are enough items in the game? In my opinion, it's close, and a few more items could really add diversity that the game needs. Too many items adds an unnecessary layer of difficulty. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and let's continue on with the video. Next is a build for support Anivia. More and more mage supports are breaking into the meta this season, and Anivia is no exception. This new build isn't too different from her mid lane build, and especially when the game drags on, she becomes a massive threat to the enemy team that they can't ignore. For runes, run Dark Harvest, Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Presence of Mind, Coup de Grace, Double Adaptive Force, and a Defensive Rune. For the items, build Spell Thief's Edge, and then rush Tear of Goddess. From there, you'll get Everfrost, Sorcerer's Shoes, Zanya's Hourglass, Seraph's Embrace, and either Rabadon's Death Cap or defensive item like Banshee's Veil. Finally, we'll conclude with the video with the bot lane duo. Namely, we have Blitzcrank and Syndra. This one sounds really odd, but it actually hits really hard with their burst damage and crowd control. The key to their success, however, lies in their communication and timing Blitzcrank's Q with Syndra's W. When the enemy laners are standing behind minions, Blitzcrank wants to throw his hook at the same time that Syndra picks up the minion that's in the way with her W. This moves a minion away and allows Blitzcrank to land that hook when the enemy thinks that they're safe. Then they eat up a ton of CC and damage from Blitzcrank's knockup and Syndra's stun. After level 6, both of their ultimates combined deal a ridiculous amount of burst damage. For Syndra's runes, run Electrocute, Cheap Shot, Eyeball, Ultimate Hunter, Manaflow Band, Transcendence, Double Adaptive Force, and a Defensive Rune. Her items are Sorcerer's Shoes, Luden's Tempest, Shadow Flame, Zanya's Hourglass, Rabadon's Death Cap, and Void Staff. If against a team with a lot of burst damage, you can substitute Luden's with the Crown of Shattered Queen. For Blitzcrank's runes, run Glacial Lockman, Hex Flash, Biscuit Delivery, Time Warp Tonic, Bone Plating, Unflinching, Ability Haste, and Double Defensive Runes. His items are Seal Shoulder Guards, Aurelia's Battle Song, Boots of Swiftness, Knight's Vow, Zeke's Convergence, and Wardstone. With the bottom lane concluded, we'll put the builds up one last time for you all to see. That's it for our Korean builds for patch 12.4. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Also, feel free to check out the link for a description to join our Discord. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.